and welcome back to another week at Beyond the Trailer Park. And surprise, we're here. we weren't sure last week what the hell was going to be going on, but as it turns out, my jury duty got canceled, which I'm actually kind of disappointed about, but you know, shit happens.
You just wanted to kicked off the jury.
No, I wanted to be on the jury. I wanted to get some juicy, like, murder trial or something.
And that's the reason why your jury duty got canceled.
Probably. Probably. Oh, well. So, we're all here. Good evening. And Beth over there in Pennsylvania, good morning.
Yeah, good morning is about it. Holy fuck.
We're a little late because Beth had a little nap, but that's okay. She's allowed.
Yeah, Beth finally had a nap and fell asleep 5 minutes before showtime.
It's alright, it's alright. How the hell's Pennsylvania these days?
Do you really want to know?
Probably not.
I went out of here so bad.
I don't blame you one bit.
It's nuts. And that's not even politics or anything like that. This is crazy here.
Well, tell our listeners what's going on with you medically.
It has been ruled a stroke, and I've actually had 2 of them now. I'm throwing off blood clots for some reason, most likely because my cholesterol has gone through the roof. Not that I lead the most healthy of lifestyles. I mean, I don't drink, but I do smoke. Although I'm cut way back. But yeah, that's basically what it is. So I had a neuro appointment this past week, and he's like, so why are you here? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, maybe because you've had a stroke. I mean, he didn't even really question it. So okay. I have a few decisions to make as far as disability and all that stuff going down the road. The problem with disability, for those of you that have never applied for it, is you have to basically be unemployed for 6 months to even get it. So I would have to have at least, at minimum,
6 months worth of savings.
Yes. And then there's no guarantee I'll get it on the first try. Most people don't.
Right.
I have a friend who's a quadriplegic. She has partial use of her arms, and she was denied. This was 7 years ago. Yeah, I know people that are full quads that have been denied on the first try because you can still you have partial use of your hands. The first time I ever applied, and that was about 7-10 years ago, I was told to move.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, do you have $10,000 I can borrow? Because that's about what it would
be. What you have right now, and I want you to just move. What's the problem?
Yeah. Well, that's years and years. It reminds me of years and years ago when I owed money for something, and I don't remember what it was, but I had a collection agent call me, and I was like early 20s. And I didn't know that they really have no, like, legal authority over anything. So they were, like, demanding I tell them, like, how much I make and what do I have in expenses and all of this shit. And I didn't know any different. And so I told them, and I had a car, right? And, I mean, it was a shit box, let me tell you. But I drove to work every day. And I had a 45-minute drive. And this stupid collection agency was like, "We'll sell your car." I'm like, yeah. And how am I supposed to work if I sell my fucking car? Well, that's not my problem, but if you sell the car, you can pay your debt. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you, get off my phone.
Oh, yeah. When I was pregnant with Christian, I think it was, I went and applied for food stamps. I didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, now I did get the Medicaid form, but I had went and applied for food stamps, and, you know, they were asking me what all my debt was, and I was like, you know, I have a car that I have to have insurance on. They're like, oh, well, car is not a necessity. And I'm like, okay, when was the last time? Because I lived in, like, Effingham County, where there's no, first off, you're going to have to pay for a taxi to come out there, and you're going to pay out the gas for it. And public transportation doesn't go that far. So, yeah, it is a necessity for me.
Absolutely. And you know, before we get into everything, you know, good. Hi, Miss Ashley.
Hi. Hey, y'all.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay. They know. They know who we are. Hey, I'm Miss Ashley. Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah. Well, you never know. We could have somebody new. It's hard to say, but if we do,
That's what I said for all the new ones. Hey, y'all. I'm Miss Ashley.
excuse me while I open my wine, because you know, I keep it actually in a cooler next to the desk here.
As
So
long as you don't pull out your vibrator again, we're good.
no, not the.
Again?
No.
Did I
Okay.
miss something?
No, I was buffing my nails with an
That's
electric
what you called
buffer.
it. Buffing. Quote.
It's an electric buffer, and it
Does that not look like a
sounds.
No, she was sharpening her nails.
Yeah, that too.
Well,
And I was like,
for the next JW that makes the mistake of coming to her door.
See,
oh,
that's
we'll
what
get to
you,
that too.
you need to show up at the door with your electric small dildo.
No, I just bring the real one then.
Hell, just bring the water bottle. That'll make them
Yeah, the
screech.
water bottle's actually way scarier looking than the actual toy.
Yeah, that's when you walk out there and you go, yes, may I help you?
Yeah.
You're interfering with my martini?
Yeah.
Would you like to try some?
Oh shit, my ice packs are up. My husband put the ice packs in the freezer, like he just threw them in, so they're all like weird shapes instead of when I try to like lay them flat and nice. So yeah, the first world wine drinking problems.
Yes, definitely. We definitely have that.
Yes.
I had major wine problems Saturday when I was in World Market trying to figure out which one I wanted.
Well, you got a good selection there by the look of it.
I did. I got me a bunch.
See, this is the shitty part about visiting you guys on a motorcycle. I mean, I wanted to cry when I was at the Biltmore Winery with my one little bottle, and the woman at the desk said, "Would you like a case?" And I'm like, "Yes, but I can't." Because the goddamn thing won't fit on the bike. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of goes over our duty-free limit, too, so, yeah, but...
I was just going to ask you that. Would you even be able to get it across the border?
Well, funny story. Back in 2010, I was working in Mexico for a month in the summer, and I had flown down via Houston, and one of the flights, they didn't have the liquid restriction. And I thought that was really, like, at the time I was like, oh, we don't have that anymore. Cool, because I hadn't flown in a couple of years. So I was like, oh, cool. So on the way home a month later, and see, the difference that I didn't understand was I was going to Mexico. America don't give a fuck what you do on a plane that's going to Mexico. I'll tell you that right now. On the way back a month later, I had two friends that asked me to bring them tequila back. I don't like tequila, and I wasn't really big on drinking anything at that point. It wasn't a deal to me, so I had, at the duty-free in Mexico, I pick up 2 good bottles of tequila, stick them in my carry-on, because I was there for a month. I had a big-ass check bag, and I didn't have much in my carry-on, so put my tequila in the carry-on. And the Mexican flight back into Houston, no problem. Yeah, except on the way home, because you're coming from Mexico, and so you've obviously got, 6 migrant children in your carry-on bag, they make you go through security again. And that's when they told me, no, you can't take that tequila on the plane. I was like, what? So I ended up paying like $30 for like a big box with the egg carton foam in it and everything. So yeah, I paid all this extra money, and they checked it special and all that. And so it got there, and I didn't realize, like I said, it'd been a couple of years since I'd flown anywhere, and I don't think I'd been to the U.S. anytime recently. So on the cart, it used to be after 48 hours, you could take 2 bottles of liquor. That's why I picked 2 bottles of liquor. Well, on the plane, I'm filling out the card, and I realized it had changed, and they wanted, it was a number of liters. And I'm going, I don't fucking know how many liters is in the bottles. So I got to, when I got off the plane and I got to customs, and customs is like way different now. So I got there and I was like, look, I have these 2 bottles. They're in the checked luggage. I haven't seen them since I left Mexico like early this morning. I have no idea how many liters they are. I'll be perfectly honest, no idea. But there's 2 bottles. And they kind of looked at me, and they're like, okay, fine, and they sent me through. So then I collect the box, and I've got, like, the big cart, because I was there for a month, so I have a big suitcase and this box full of fucking tequila. And on the way out of the check baggage claim, you have to present your card one more time. And at this point, I now had the box with me, and I present the card, and the customs guy is like, well, that's an awful big box for this limit here. And I'm like, yeah, and I had to pay $30 damn for the thing just to get it here, blah, 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 blah. And he kind of looked at me and was like, okay, fine. I'm positive. Well, actually, I knew I was over the limit. I was totally over the limit. So I managed to squeak my way through that. That's my tequila in Mexico story. And so apparently the Q&A is not working. Fabulous.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, stupid Google.
Oh, I was about to say thank you so much, stupid Katie. Oh my God. Oh no! I was about to say Deborah.
We would not call Katie stupid. Katie's a very nice person.
Well, it's funny because
all our listeners are.
Katie, you can hush your mouth too. She said, because I told her, I said, if you want to, you can just message us here and I'll put it on the show. Well, this is proof that I'm going to put it on the show. She said, that'll work. I don't usually have anything profound to add anyways. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sure, Katie.
Yeah, exactly.
I do that, but I can't.
It's okay. You can wave your anal probe at her and stuff.
I gotta find it again.
All right. Oh, man.
Oh,
but yeah. To finish, I'm not drunk, people. I just cannot talk. Regretfully, the stroke really hit my speech center this time. So I sound a little goofy.
It's okay.
It's better than it was.
Well, Ashley and I will catch up to you. Don't worry. Oh, look at her chug that.
And I can't.
Katie said, I thought she was going to say stupid Katie too.
No.
Awesome.
She's like, I'm laughing my ass off here.
We did put out in the No Religion Required family group too, if anybody wants to ask us something. So the Q&A is not working, which really sucks. So if you have any questions or comments, if you're in the NRR family group, pop over there. If not, message one of us or something, and we'll get to it.
Don't expect me to type.
Or you can twit. You can become a twit.
Yeah. You can do that Twitter thing.
Because we do have a tweet.
We do. Well, actually, I cobbled together beyondthetrailerpark.com, so you can pop over there and get all of our contact information. So it's very simple, but it does the job, and we needed something because I'll talk about it right now, because tomorrow, if anybody's around, has a lunch break around 1 o'clock, we are going to be sitting down talking to David Silverman. So I wanted to have a website or something that we can be like, hey, look, we're like professional and shit. So, go on over to beyondthetrailerpark.com. It has links to all the places that you can find the show, all of our Twitters. We have emails and shit. And I'm trying to keep up a listing of what the upcoming shows are as well, so that people can go and say, hey, oh, I really want to make time for that, or oh, fuck that, that's a stupid topic, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can go over there, find our Twitters, and send us some tweeters or
Well,
twits. Or
speaking of a tweeter,
yes.
Tweeter on Twit.
yeah, since I'm a twit, the is in big letters, the Shujin Tribble
Surgeon Tribble.
says, listening in, Hans. Sorry he could not be there for the recording, but he is.
That's okay. Well, hi, Shujin. It's okay. It's alright. Hey, it means I didn't have to clean anymore last night. So I got to skip, scrubbing the toilet, so it's all good.
And you got out of dinner with the mother-in-law.
I did, yeah. I actually bailed on dinner with mother-in-law because I was going to have company and I needed to clean, so thanks! Like, yeah, when she asks me how the company was, I'll be like, great! Yeah!
Yeah, okay.
I mean, why the hell okay, so she tries to have us over for dinner like every other weekend. That's fine. Cool, no worries. We have to go there for Easter next weekend, so what? Yeah.
Oh,
In fact,
that means all your Jesus memes are going to start coming out this week.
oh, hell, I got 2 Easters to go to, one Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, your Jesus memes
God.
are definitely going to be coming out this week.
Fuck. Yeah. It used to be that Arno's family and my family had theirs on the same day on the Sunday, so we would just go to his family. And so now his brother's taken it over and they do it on Saturday instead of Sunday, so I have no excuse now.
Wasn't that nice of him? He was looking out
Yeah.
for you. He wanted to make sure everybody got to see y'all.
Got a little bit of Jesus.
Yeah.
Fuck. If they start saying, let's go to church, no fucking way. Nope.
Well, it's like
that was recorded.
J-Raf video I sent you was actually kind of apropos then.
I haven't got to that yet, but I will have a look at it maybe later.
You should
No,
record it.
Yeah, it's a little 15-minute video from James Randi from J-Raf, and he does basically about Jesus being from Nazareth. Now, my uneducated, I really haven't looked into it kind of thing is that the general consensus has always been that Nazareth at that time did not exist. So there's no way Christ could be from Nazareth. And basically that's what he delves into. And there's a book that he mentions that is on my wish list now. So there are 500 other books, not that I can read at the moment.
Yep.
Very well. It's very slow going, but I am doing it. So it delves into that. I want to see how much, if it's a legitimate concern, or is it just kind of something we throw off the cuff. But
Right.
I've heard it before, so it was kind of interesting. He delves into it, and usually most of the stuff from James Randi, in my opinion, is fairly accurate, but it's something that I wanted to look into.
He knows his shit, and he doesn't like to just claim shit for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, I do know Charias mentions it, and I believe Robert Price does too, and they're both in the mythicist. Well, we all know Acharya's mythicists for sure. Robert Price falls into that category.
Mm-hmm.
He has some mythicist tendencies, so it's just something I would love for it to be true in the sense that it's legitimate, because that's really a good argument for the infallibility of the Bible. The Bible says that Christ is from Nazareth. Well, he can't be if it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'll like this then, because of we mentioned I had a visit from the lovely JW this afternoon, and it was fun. I was still in my bathrobe, otherwise I probably would have. Yeah, well, I didn't feel like getting dressed until after I had my bath. Okay, so. But if I had been dressed, I probably would have hung out on the porch and yapped with him for a while. But he gave me this because one of the things he did the whole, oh, who gave us all of these wonderful things, pointing to around. I'm like, yeah, and who's starving the kids in Africa? Oh, well,
I love that response is perfect.
yep, exactly. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, that's a good point. And we talked about the problem of evil for a minute, and I totally hammered him with it. And so he gave me, and for those of you who are watching, this lovely pamphlet.
And can I just say, we talked about it before we went live, but that actually looks like an abused woman wanting to know. It looks like an abused woman pamphlet.
Yeah.
And if you open it, it's going to tell you where the abused woman can go.
Because the title is, Will the Suffering Ever End?
And how bad is that that's a play on I mean, in a way that's kind of screwed up.
It is.
Well, it could be the same. It could be the same pamphlet, just blank.
Yeah.
But then again, Watchtower Society does publish their own materials.
They do. Well, one of the things it says, like, it quotes Revelation, and it says, God will wipe the tears from their eyes, and there will be no more death, suffering, crying, or pain. I'm like, oh, whatever. And then at the bottom it says, and what that can mean for you, and it says, assurance that God does not cause our problems, and it cites James 1, verse 13, which, of course, I looked up, which says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil. And I said, well, then who the fuck was being tempted by Satan on the fucking mountain? Because last time I checked, people said Jesus is God. And then it says that nor does he tempt anyone. Yeah, except Job.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other people. So, yeah, Bible is wrong-o. I didn't read this when Buddy gave it to me, unfortunately, because as soon as I saw that, when it's, God cannot be tempted by evil, I'm like, the fuck, yeah, he can.
Shujin says, quote unquote, will suffering ever end? Disgusting to me. And it is.
Absolutely, it is.
Well, if you think about it, though, too, in a way, one of the tropes that you mentioned in one of your responses is there's going to be no, quote, suffering in heaven. Well, that suffering, as much as it sucks, moosecock, is what makes us individuals.
Yes.
So basically, all we're going to be is drones.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'd rather have, my so-called miserable life. I mean, I'm not thrilled I had a stroke at 51, but I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
That to me, I mean, each of our backgrounds, I mean, we have...
She froze.
Who? Oh, me.
Yeah.
Me or her?
You.
Oh, figures.
That's okay. Say that again.
I was just saying we all have similar backgrounds, and that's what makes us unique, is how we handle that, the bullshit.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they seem to, like the people I used to debate in the old Yahoo group, there was one in particular, oh, we're all going to have perfect and incorruptible bodies, and we're going to live in mansions, and everything will be perfect, and there won't be any more suffering. And I'm like, that sounds boring as fuck.
Hey,
how
in the hell can heaven be so great if, the stuff that's in heaven, why can't we have it here on earth and enjoy it? When we go to heaven, supposedly we're not going to know anybody, but, well, some people say we're not going to know anybody. Some people say, oh, I can't wait to see my grandma when I get to heaven. But she ain't going to know who the hell I am if there is a heaven.
Yeah. And you aren't going to go looking for her because you ain't going to remember that you had a fucking grandma.
Right. So what's the use of freaking heaven? Oh, I can cuss. What's the use of fucking heaven?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the cussing show.
I got another tweet from Shujin.
Yep.
Trying to find it. There it is. By the way, Beth looks like, quote unquote, Miss Nick Fury with that patch, and he's smiling. Hope she's feeling okay.
I am doing, for those that have asked, physically I feel fine. as far as like health-wise. Little tired, nothing like the last time. It's just my speech has been affected, my ability to write and type. Words are not my friend right now. But I do feel good, so thank you, Susan. I just can't say things very well.
I think
Although it is
very well.
Yeah, it's better than last week. Last week I was really slurring.
Mm-hmm.
If I get going too fast, I get tongue tied. But the only thing I have this time compared to last time is my dizziness is a lot worse.
Mm.
So, but that's regardless where the stroke hit. It's very low in my cerebellum, which is the center of balance. So some of it could be attributed to my eye, which is now put my eye surgery on hold, but hopefully only just 2 weeks. So.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I mean, they want to get my numbers down. My blood pressure's way up again. It seems that all of a sudden my blood pressure medicine failed. But as I said, I go with the flow. I mean, I'm frustrated and I'm aggravated. Part of the problem is the more research I do into, well, I call it research, but the more looking into the background of my doctor, my general practitioner, the more unhappy I am becoming. Woo has overtaken the medical field. I've been doing a lot of reading on that lately, and it's really scary. I mean, you have medical schools that are teaching quackery. You know, it's just, I had her suggest acupuncture. I have neuropathy in my arm, which affects all the way down into my hand.
And what that means, neuropathy means that your nerves are kind of deadened, right?
Yeah, basically, if you remember like with an old rubber band where it's just not a rubber band, it's just a piece of rubber. That's basically what my arm feels, but I can't physically hold a pen. I can now, like trying to sign papers. I couldn't even write my name.
Yeah,
you got a squiggle. I mean, the bank laughed. It's a good thing they know me at the bank because like my signature now is just a straight line because I have a common of apraxia where I cannot. I know what letters I want. I can't form it because my arm just in my hand will just not do it.
Well, and, theoretically, you could probably apply for medical school then, right?
Yeah. It's not like my handwriting was that great to begin with, and now it's even worse. But
it reminds me of a joke in Atheist Apocalypse where there's doctors are protesting and the news reporter says, "I don't know what their signs say. Nobody can read them."
Yeah. Well, I'm beyond that. You can't even make out what I'm trying to write. I did kind of make a shopping list the other day, which was kind of funny. At least I could at least read what I was trying to write before I could even do that. So it's just something. Yeah, it's frustrating me because I'm OCD. I'm very OCD, and there's some things that I cannot do anymore that just drive me totally batshit crazy. And it's like one of those happens to be my speech. So, like, you guys might not realize it, but being one, I've been in speech therapy before when I was a child. I went through almost 7 years of it. So for me, I notice real small things. So when I listen to myself on the radio, and I do listen to our episodes, I'm not as bad as I was, but any little error, it's like it'll drive me nuts, and it's something that I have to work on because if I get lazy, my lisp will come back, my slurring will come back, and now it's just like I sound like the way it sounds to me is like, so it drives me a little batty. Yeah. I'm the type of person that if I'm actually handwriting something, if I make a mistake, I'll just start over. And throw it out. And I can't do that now because it's like I wouldn't have any paper left. But
you'd have a comfortable pile that you could fall over in the corner, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, easily there. And it's funny because doing any type, I mean, I only have enough vision efficiency apartment. It's a very small apartment. It's basically one room with a divider. And this section where I'm at now is actually where the bed's supposed to go, but I made it into kind of an office. So since my first stroke in July, my vacuum kind of gets shifted, but it never gets put away because by the time I vacuum my 5-foot square, I'm too tired. So instead of taking me like one day to clean, it takes me like a whole week. So my poor vacuum, I kept tripping over it when I first got home this past weekend, and it's like, I really got to figure out how to move it because I can't move it because my one arm, I mean, I can use my right arm, but I can't. I mean, basically all it's good for now is balance.
The dexterity isn't there.
And it's just like, seriously? And cooking's a chore. And you're talking to a chef. I'm a trained chef. That's what I do for a living.
When she messages me and says, using a knife is interesting, I get a little concerned.
Yeah, I'm like,
interesting how?
I have not cut myself yet, so I have to give myself
Well, that's good. That's definitely an accomplishment, I would say.
But then again, my arm is too weak to even sharpen my knives, but I'm going to leave it that way until I get a little bit better.
Probably a good idea, yes.
Yeah. It's been interesting because a lot of people, I mean, you and Ashley realize that I really am pretty much by myself. So everything, if I need something done, I have to do it. Occasionally I'll have somebody help me, like take me to the store, but I mean, I can't really rely on anybody. I don't have a nurse coming in and helping me, home nurse. I don't qualify for it because I am trying to work, although that may change. But it's just like, so it's me and me alone. It's quite comical, actually. I'm trying to be positive about it, but as I said, I mean, it is kind of my own fault in the sense that health-wise I have not really taken care of myself. But it also shows how bad our healthcare system is, because this is all preventable stuff.
Yep.
Had I had insurance, I would have been able to go to the doctor, but I didn't have insurance for a good 6 years that I went without.
And then there's people, there's nobody that doesn't have insurance. Yeah, fuck off.
Well, their idea is that health insurance, basically the whole Republican idea of just go to the ER. Well, you can't just go to the ER. An ER visit is minimum $3,000 just to go to the ER. Yeah. It's like, in our ER here, in the one closest to me, which is 35 minutes away, is not really even the ER anymore. It's a triage. Yeah. I mean, they don't, there's a medication that they can give you when you have a stroke, and it usually has to be done within 4 hours. They don't even have it. So if someone had a stroke and got to the hospital within that 4-hour window, they don't even have the medication to give you.
Yeesh.
Now, my mistake was the first time I thought I was coming down with the flu.
Yeah, because you're just sick mostly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the doctor did tell me that was most likely, as he put it, when my neurons were kicking in the bucket. Basically, the symptoms of physically getting sick was I was actually having the stroke. Because and that's the thing. I mean, he goes, well, he hands me a card with FAST, which is the acronym they use for detecting a stroke. They ask you, they drooping facial muscles, and they ask you to stick your tongue out, and if your tongue goes to one side, you've had, possibly had a stroke. And then I forgot what all the acronyms. I said, well, that's what they used, and I passed every single one of them. Yeah. So I said, what good does it do if you've already had the stroke?
Yes.
Like in my case, I said, according to the hospital and according to my doctor, I have not had a stroke. They want to pass it off as, yes, I did take 10 bags of saline.
Yeah.
Which is a little, just excessive. But I was so dehydrated because I had been sick. I had an upper respiratory infection just prior to this last bout.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, that's not really a sign of a stroke. It can be a symptom of. But he goes, all they would have to do is look at your medication. Two of
Yeah.
the 4 medications I'm on are diuretics. And plus I'm diabetic, so, and this is one of the offshoot. And he goes, plus a stroke is an offshoot of being diabetic.
Yeah.
I mean, the first words basically out of his mouth were, where you've had a stroke. I said, well, not according to the hospital or my doctor.
Yeah.
And
that's why he's the specialist.
yeah, that took me 7 months to get into.
Yeah, that's a whole other ball of wax.
Yeah. So, I mean, healthcare, in a sense, is not just a southern issue. I don't mean to pick on you, Miss Ashley. It's not something that is just happening down south, but it's happening in Pennsylvania. I mean, especially in the rural areas. I can imagine places like Mississippi or Kentucky, Kentucky has a really good Connect system. Their Medicaid is really good since the ACA, but Bevan's, dismantling it. So imagine people worse off financially than I am, or worse off physically, who can't navigate the morass, and that's my biggest thing. So
exactly. Well, we hope it improves to some degree, and we got you.
Oh yeah. It's funny though, but I mean, I've had a lot of people come forward, and I do appreciate it. So.
Well, that's good. So apparently the Q&A is working for one person. So hello, Guthrie. So Guthrie, he's an agnostic, and he's got a question. Says, I came across this paper about how a group of physicists have created a group of, quote, universes in a laboratory. And so he's like, I was wondering if perhaps we might be able to finally test for God, meaning, and then he clarifies in the other question, could we test to see if our universe was artificially generated as opposed to naturally occurring? I am not a scientist by any stretch, so...
That's like a Jeremiah question.
Yeah, that's a Jeremiah. Yeah, where the hell's a prophet when you need one, damn it?
Right.
Thank you, Guthrie. That's something I would have to actually read the paper to even have a clue. It might be possible to test. What I understand of the laws of thermodynamics, though, is that it's really not possible for any god that has been described in our history. It's not possible for that to exist. Now, because
it's not testable.
Because and it goes against the laws of thermodynamics as well. And because any god that has been explained or described in history has been supernatural. Right. So if something is supernatural, meaning outside the natural world, then if we can only perceive the natural world, we have no way of knowing that that thing exists. And if we have no way of perceiving it, then to me, it's fucking irrelevant. And I don't fucking care. But that's just me.
Well, it goes with the third law argument, where like what you said, if you can't test something, we can't really perceive it because our senses only are relevant in the natural world, and most of the gods described are supernatural.
Absolutely.
That's a question we could ask them, but so save that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Guthrie. That's one to delve into for sure, because if the universe, we could say it was artificially generated, to me, then that doesn't necessarily mean, quote, God. That means that there's something out there that could create a universe, but what does that really mean, right? So how does that impact me? To me, it would be, well, not at all. Okay, cool, that's where. But I'm weird, and as I said to my J-Dub friend today, who was like, well, haven't you wondered where we all came from? And my answer, and I admit this is weird, no. I've never wondered where we came from. I don't give a shit where we came from. It's utterly irrelevant to me. I will argue it because it's pertinent to the discussion of God and theology, and I can certainly discuss it, but me on a personal level, I have no desire or care about where we came from because it's irrelevant to me. I'm here. Let's deal with the fact that I am here, and let's have the best life we can deal with.
Let's deal with the here and now, and then you get into the whole metaphysical. Excuse me.
That's the one.
Problem of defining what God, which God, what type of God is he?
Exactly.
And then and what makes this specific God relevant in the sense that why should we worship him? You could prove God exists to me, the God of the Bible exists, but he does not in any way, shape, or form deserve my worship. Nobody does.
Yeah, Susan said, but we could supposedly measure any effects in our natural realm.
Yeah, that falls under the third. I call it the third law argument. It's one that Dave Foda, a friend of our show, that I've been kind of tweaking in the sense that not only do you have to prove it exists, but the whole cause and effect. If there's an effect, there should be a cause, and if there's a cause, it should be testable.
And let's be clear though, you're tweaking Dave's argument. You're not tweaking Dave.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that would be.
I just had to point that out.
Yeah, thank you. He'd run with that.
In other words, she just got a message that said, "Did Beth just say that she was tweaking me?"
No.
Isn't that twerking though?
Twerking?
Yeah. I'm quite sure Dave knows how to do that too.
Probably.
Oh shit! Now that's twerking Dave. So and Dave never listens to the show unless he's on it, which isn't really an insult because he doesn't listen to anybody. So,
yeah.
But I may have to message him later though.
Yeah, I would say look into the arguments against and for the third law, and really your best place to start. Dave has a essay that he wrote specifically concerning the third law, and if I can find it in my massive mess that I'm trying to organize, I'll post it later. He gets into this whole.
Just go to Dave's wall and look through his notes. Dave Foda, Facebook.com/Dave Foda. Go looking through his notes. He's got a few, but he has some really good papers that talk about, because Dave and I and Beth, we we say there is no God, to put it. I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, and Guthrie, you say you're agnostic, and that's totally cool. And if you feel that you don't have enough information to really decide one way or another, I can respect that. Beth and Dave and I don't really go in for the whole agnostic atheist thing, but that's a whole other thing. But
well, I do in a different way. Like Dave will come right out and say that he finds agnosticism as a position very weak. And I do agree with him to a degree. Where I differ from Dave and from others is that I base it on my current knowledge. I don't, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I did not have the personal knowledge to make the affirmative statement that there is no God. I will affirmatively state there is no God. Not that I don't believe in a God.
Yeah.
But there is no God. Now, 10 years ago, I couldn't make that statement. I can now because I know that there is no conceivable way that the Abrahamic concept of God, or any God for that matter, can be tested.
And even
or repeated.
The Hindu version, or
Buddhist version, the
Buddhist version, whatever the hell else, Thor, Zeus, any of those guys, Odin.
Yeah. But in general, I don't have the apprehension of the word agnostic that some atheists do. So he's got a really good one on, and I do refer to Dave a lot because I will be honest, Dave has really made me think along lines that I haven't delved into. I've been a kind of lazy atheist in that respect. I can say that, oh yeah, I'm an atheist, but 10, 15 years ago, I didn't really know why. I just knew it was all bunk, but I didn't know why. The last 10 years, I've been able to solidify that point where now I can positively state that there is no God.
Yeah.
And basically, in my opinion, not being able to test it, not being able to repeat it, proves that there is no God. And it gets into Richard Carrier's argument about the crows in a box.
Yes.
And that ties in. So Dave's a good resource if you want to get into the mind-numbing aspects, but don't read him at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're going to bed.
Oh, but that's the best time to read, Dave. Come on. But yeah, thank you, Guthrie. Appreciate that, and I'll definitely take a look at that. I don't promise I'll understand it all because I'm really not a scientist. Although interestingly, guess what I was doing at 3:30 this morning?
I don't know. At 11 o'clock this morning, you were telling me, "Good morning, sunshine."
I know. Well, it's 3:30 this morning, and I was thinking to myself, I'm weird because who the hell at 3:30 in the morning is talking to a paleontologist about the evolutionary connection between mammoths and elephants? Like,
now you sound like me.
I know. And it was, it started off as like a social discussion, as like, because it's Rachel, she's a paleontologist and whatnot, evolutionary scientist, and it's like talking about what kind of bones is she playing with these days, and mammoths. I'm like, oh, well, how does that? Yeah, I heard that sticker. Cool. Hi, Jason.
I was about to say, Jason's bones these days, maybe?
No, that'd be Jason's boner.
Well, if she's talking to me, I doubt she was playing with Jason's boner, but
You sure about that?
No, he was not showing us online at the time, though. So
might have been. Well, just so you know that Shujin's feeling left out about being tweaked. Shujin, I'm giving out all your tweets, so I'm tweaking you. So
okay.
Get over it. And then he says, Dave motherfucking Foda.
Yes.
Is my quote unquote Eve equals first skeptic kind of kills God of the Bible as being relevant anyway, even if it were possible.
Very true. And for those that don't know, so Shujin is the host of my other show that I do on Sunday nights, although he wasn't actually on his own show this week, which is no, Sunday at 12:05 a.m.
That is morning. Sunday
morning. God damn it. It's always dark when I'm up, so
you're talking to the two night owls.
Yeah, that's okay. But Shujin hosts Holy Crap the Vlogcast, so that's why he's one of our friends and whatnot. So you can catch him at Holy Crap the Vlogcast Sunday mornings at 12:05 a.m. And he does what he calls a 5-minute freestyle. It's kind of a ranty thing. And he talked to one time about how Eve was really the first skeptic, because when God said, don't eat the damn tree, and the snake said, eat the damn tree, she's like, well, how do I know what he said was wrong when he said it's okay? The only way I'm going to know if who's telling the truth is to eat the damn fruit. And so she did.
Well, first off, she didn't even get the rules that she wasn't supposed to eat the damn fruit.
You were talking about this we were discussing this on NRR the one time. So, how the fuck is she supposed to know that it's wrong to disobey when nobody has told her what anything wrong is?
Well, I had one of my Seventh-day Adventists tell me that said, what makes you think that she didn't know? I'm saying because the Bible didn't say she knew.
Well,
why would you need a tree of the knowledge of good and evil if people already knew what good and evil was?
Right.
Yeah. Well, supposedly it was Adam's why they didn't punish Eve anymore was that it was Adam's responsibility to tell Eve. But
Yes.
if you think of it, if Eve was taken from the rib of Adam, it would be the same DNA. Not only
That's
would
right.
Eve actually be a clone of Adam, she would have the same memories and all that other stuff. So is memory innate? Is it in our DNA, or is this something that we have to be taught? So obviously, Adam didn't teach her very well.
Nope.
And if we're all descendants of Adam and Eve, you would think that our DNA would be able to track us way, 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 way the hell back.
Yeah.
Well, according to creationists, we can, but you have to remember, we are not descendants of Adam and Eve per se. We are descendants of Noah and his family.
True.
So where did Noah come from?
Technically, didn't. Come from? Yeah, didn't Noah come from Adam and Eve?
Well, it depends. Where did the women that Cain and Seth married come from?
Yeah.
So it depends on which tack you want to take.
Yeah.
Either we can substitute that the wives were quote Neanderthal or Denisovans, the different races or different species in this case, if I remember correctly. It's so twisted. The just the jumping you have to do and the mind fucking you have to do just to twist the story to even fit makes no sense.
It doesn't.
That's why it's so annoying.
Now, somebody correct me.
Gaps in the Bible. There's so many missing parts.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes the Bible annoying is that too many people, Ken Ham being one of them, him and Hove and I follow quite a bit. The Bible was never meant to be a science book. It was never written to be a science book. If you look at the purpose of the Bible, as it was written back in the day, it was not meant to be a guidebook. I mean, not the way a lot of evangelicals are trying to use it. It's not meant to be a medical book. It's not meant to be a science book. I mean, I've used this example before. As far as divination, I can find just as many verses that condemn divination and psychic powers as I can that say it's okay. So you have Christians who believe in psychic powers and divination, astrology, but you have some that don't. Oh, no, that's of the devil. Well, the Bible doesn't say either way. Same with abortion. Abortion is in the Bible. And you have verses concerning the bitter waters that doesn't really condemn it. In fact, the Catholic Church, I think, was up to the 15th or 16th century, was all for abortion. It didn't become an issue until the late 60s, early 70s with Roe v. Wade. And it's something I'll be delving into when I do my interview with Andrew, is that's one of the things of the Reich. I mean, we blame it on abortion, but abortion was considered the Catholic issue. I mean, you can do that with everything. You can do it with abortion. Homosexuality. All the hot-button political issues that we have today, they're all man-made. None of them are in, or if they are in the Bible supports them. And you could twist it any way you want, and that's what's so annoying about the Bible.
Yeah. Well, and because they've traced the human genome, and I believe that they've come back to say that the first man and the first woman there's no way they could conform to the Adam and Eve story.
Yeah, there's that, and plus now we have I saw an article recently where they think that man, what we know today as Homo sapiens, has mated with Neanderthals.
Yes,
and that's more up in Europe, if I remember correctly. I'm pulling this out of my ass, but our evolution, so to speak, is not as simple as God created.
Yeah.
It's not. It just does not. And to deny, this is where the whole science denial comes in, especially with Ken Ham. You have to deny so much science to well, in fact, today there was a meme going around today that basically, hold on one second, I'm gonna minimize this. No real scientists believe in creation, and this is the dude, Rock, the Rock. He's driving a little girl, and the little girl goes, "Dr. Jerry Bergman has 9 degrees, and he's a creationist." Well, if you look at his 9 degrees, yes, he has 9 degrees, but not one of them deal with evolution.
Yeah. In fact, I've looked at it before, and creationists with quote science degrees, there's a lot of dentists that fall into that category.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that a dentist is not qualified because he has a degree. But I'm sorry, my background in science, I'm not I'm not an evolutionary scientist, and evolution doesn't just deal with biology. There's chemistry, there's astrophysics, I mean, it runs the gamut. Even like we were talking about Rachel from the original AOA. I mean, even she will tell you, she's only one part. I mean, one part of the whole picture. Evolutionary theory just runs the gamut, and it's not just natural selection. Everybody focuses on the natural selection. It's everything. There's chemistry. There's biochemistry. I mean, even like Richard Dawkins or P.Z. Myers. I mean, they're just one little tidbit. You know, they might have other knowledge, but in their field, they're fine. I mean, I think Dawkins is an evolutionary biologist, but someone that just has a biology major or biomedical sciences is not an evolutionary theory.
Or then you get idiots like Kent Hovind, who has a doctor of divinity, who thinks he's a fucking scientist. And I've got to sit and like actually force myself through the thing, but we found copies of Hovind's quote doctoral thesis, and I wrote better shit in high school. Is all I can say.
Well, we were gonna do a show ripping it apart.
We should.
Then of course my body's decided otherwise, but Hovind's doctoral thesis is comical. I remember the day I gave it, sent it to Dave, and we were kind of picking at it, and you two were just dying. It's like, and it's written on a 5th grade level. Hi, my name is Kent Hovind, and I mean, shit you do not put in a doctoral thesis.
The first, page and a half was about himself. Who the fuck puts that in a doctoral thesis?
Yeah. And for those that might be unaware, yes, his doctorate is from a diploma mill.
Yes.
I mean, basically, he did have to write a paper, but this thesis is just, it's terrible. I mean, Christian could probably write a better one.
I think Christian could probably do 10 times better, because I wrote a story in like 7th grade. I think that was better than it was a fantasy story, but then so is Hovind's. So
Well, we'll have to hit that one. I think it's next week.
We should. Ashley, remind us. We'll have to send it to you.
Yes. We'll be picking on Kent next week too, as we're having Rubber Bait and Craig and that man. We're gonna hit the whole Oregon spiel and everything surrounding that, and it does relate to Hovind in the sense that they're pulling sovereign citizen tactics, but I like this little acronym that Ashley threw in the Q&A group chat. It says Bible. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. There is nothing.
No, that's bullshit instructions before pretending to leave Earth.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're on a space shuttle, right? And you grab your manual, because those are your basic instructions.
The instructions are bring a towel.
A black one.
A black towel, yep.
Bobby had told me that before, Bible, and he had said that acronym before, and I had to ask him about it. And Katie's messaging me too. She said that there's a couple of things she said here that she made very good points. She said, I have no reason to worship God because I can't go to heaven no matter what I do. I said, shit, I can't go either. There is not one. She
Nope.
said her grandmother was illegitimate. I can't remember where the Bible says, let not a bastard enter into the gates of heaven, nor until the 10th generation. I said, damn, we are all doomed. She
I'm
said,
fucked then.
yeah, she said, no shit.
Well, so is Christ, really, if you think about it.
Now, does it work if my parents got married before I was actually born, but my mom was knocked up before? How does that work?
Nope, that doesn't count.
Nope.
Then I'm fucked.
Oh, yeah, you're fucked.
I'm screwed too, so.
She said, no shit. She said, Mary wasn't married either, was she? I said, nope, I don't think so. I said, she said,
she was like betrothed.
and I said, yeah, he was. His father was God, and God has not proved his existence, so Jesus is in hell. And then she says,
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 23:2.
Excellent. Good catch, Katie.
Yeah, I forgot about that verse.
We're all fucked.
Yep.
So, and aside from that, even if I wasn't a fucking bastard, I have told the Holy Ghost to go fuck itself, so I'm screwed that way too. I have to ghost fuck itself anyway. I'd pay to see that.
I mean, let's think about all these. Okay, so thinking about this verse that Katie just put out. So what about all the women that are unable, let's just say they don't want a man.
Yeah.
Or lesbians. Or, what have you.
Well, now, Ashley, if you're gay, you're fucked anyway, right?
Okay, well, let's just say this. Okay, you're not gay. Okay, you're a federal woman, but you don't want to have sex with a man, but you want to have a baby, so you go and get artificially inseminated.
Bastard!
How do you think that woman feels when she's going in there to get artificially inseminated thinking, well, I can go get pregnant, but I'm about to bring a baby into this world who's never going to make it to heaven because it ain't got no father.
Why do you think the Catholic Church is against artificial insemination? That is why.
Oh, check this out. I've got a driver who's Catholic.
Uh-oh.
Oh, this is like, oh my God. I'm like thinking what he could be doing with his damn money. So they don't have forms of birth control. That's a no-no.
Right.
So what she does is every month she goes and she has her eggs removed and harvested.
What?
And they pay for these eggs, or I don't know if they're harvested. They go to a warehouse where they're frozen. And he pays a yearly fee to keep them in this quote-unquote warehouse.
But that's got to cost a fuck ton of money to get them harvested.
It costs a shitload of money. Well, what do they do with the eggs in 10 years?
The hell I know. I keep wanting to ask. I'm like, dude.
I would ask him because one of the arguments against pro-life, did I get that right, is that what about those that are undergoing cancer treatment who have frozen their sperm and or egg for after the fact, then they decide for whatever reason not to have children at all, and they destroy the eggs. Is that or sperm? Is that abortion?
Right.
Well, but they haven't.
If you look at their argument, yes, it is, because you're destroying quote life because they believe that life begins at conception. Well, that's the whole story behind onism.
But if it's just a sperm or egg, it's not a conception yet.
Well, they take some in the pro-life movement take it back to
the egg,
the sperm, or these are your extremes, but it comes if they take it back that far. I mean, they're against abortion for whatever reason. Right. Well, you can take it back to the whole masturbating thing, the whole. Well, what about when a woman has her period? I mean, you can get so twisted. There are some people that are that extreme.
Well, I guess we know they don't have any black towels, Ashley?
No, apparently they don't.
No black towels and no tube socks.
And I'm thinking about all these women all of us women, I haven't gone through it yet, but I honestly think that I am starting to go through it. But when we go through menopause, we don't ovulate anymore.
Yep. We don't.
Okay.
I'm in menopause.
So does that mean that our our punishment is over?
That's a good point. Now, and look at me, okay? I probably hit menopause at 30, and I never wanted kids. I'd never been pregnant, never dealt with any of that shit, you know? And when I did have periods, they weren't that bad, right?
Yep.
So I've basically escaped the whole punishment thing at all.
Yeah, Katie says, I think as long as they don't drop the petri dish with the sperm on the ground, I guess they're okay. You just can't spill your seed on the ground.
Yeah, if you drop the sperm on the ground, you're fucked. God's gonna come and nuke your ass on the spot. Just ask Onan.
Well, it's like the hypothetical question I asked in one of the debates. Was you have a petri dish which is sperm with a fertilized egg. Okay,
Yep.
so it is a zygote. It is, conception has happened. And you have a baby of, let's say, 1.5, 2 years old. You're holding both over a cliff. Which one do you save?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because, according to some, not ever all of them, in the pro-life movement, that petri dish is just as important as,
a born baby.
Yeah.
But we all know that we all know that they're both more important than any woman, right?
Well, then you get into the whole diatribe that if you really look at the pro-life movement, they are not pro-life. They're
not.
No, they're
pro-birth.
Yeah, they're pro-birth. Once you're born, you're on your own.
Yeah, they don't give a, and that's one of my biggest beefs about it is, they're all about, oh, the baby, and then as soon as it comes out and they're like, okay, well, now I have a baby and I have no money, help, and they're, oh, fuck you, you're a slut, you're on your own.
Basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yeah, what was that again?
I said after you have your baby, then you go and you get the Bible. It's the basic instructions.
Yep.
Well, it kind of goes to a article a friend of yours posted up on Facebook. Does empathy make us more immoral? And they were talking about an article, not to be a gloomy Gus for sure. Essentially, this person argues that empathy leads to bad decisions or doesn't reach far enough. This sounds like a reductionist argument where you focus on a tiny thing without seeing the whole. This is and then he goes on, but I had posted it. If you really look at the Reich, it does not allow for empathy. Their whole thing comes down to the absolute morality within the Bible, or their perceived perception.
There is no absolute morality.
Yeah, well, that's what I think. Well, it comes from from my view, they see like someone like Ken Ham, and I've used this argument before. He sees the Bible as absolute authority on everything. If you destroy, and it comes down, you destroy creation, you destroy that. That's why he fights so hard for creationism in school.
Yep.
And even if you believe, are you the right believer? And it gets into that whole argument. But the right is so keen on attacking the poor and LGBT community. It's all based on that flawed religious ideology. And we see it with especially the whole 2 Thessalonians 3:10. Those that do not work do not eat. Their whole misunderstanding of that concept, and it goes even further because one of the commenters put about if you actually look at the real Reich, the Third Reich and Hitler, that authoritarianism that the current Reich tries to use is actually behind that whole shit and shebang.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
We could do a whole show on just the bullshit abortion crap. But and we kind of talked about that on Holy Crap this week. We talked about Governor Pence in Indiana and his stupid ass abortion restrictions. And the one that got me the most, and this is sick shit. He wants to force a woman who has, if the fetus is fine, okay, maybe you can have an abortion. If there's any supposed anomaly with that fetus, and it doesn't matter if it has the worst, it's never going to live, or if it's born, it's going to be in agony for the 20 minutes it does live. You must give birth to that.
Yeah. But yeah,
That
basically
is some sick shit.
Yeah, he's put in, unless the life of the mother is at risk, and even that's questionable with the way he has it worded, that if your child is deformed in any way, shape, or form, it could be minor, it could, like you said, major, that the child has to be carried to full term and born. And
Yeah,
whatever happens.
and on top of that, he's going to make that poor woman and or family pay to have the, quote, fetus cremated or buried. Like, what kind of sick shit is that?
That's the new tactic of the Reich, where they're forcing that you have to carry it to full time, then you have to pay, like you said, pay for the quote funeral. And now, for most part, most people that are having a planned, they're letting the medical facility discard of the fetus.
Yes.
After the procedure. And the stupid thing is, 90% of your abortions that are carried out first term.
It's gonna be so damn fucking tiny, like you could, quote, cremate it with a fucking cigarette lighter.
Yeah, it's just basically they know they can't overturn Roe v. Wade, and with the court most likely going to change in the next year, whether it happens this year or after the election, and it remains to be seen. The court is probably going to change, and they're going to uphold Roe v. Wade. I'd be very, but since Roe v. Wade went into existence, they have been trying to overturn it, and they know they can't, so they're trying to make abortion so restrictive. There's a case before the Supreme Court right now. I think the oral arguments have been heard. I think it happened over the weekend. But without Scalia there, I have a feeling, my opinion is that Scalia was the actual driving force behind the moral, the so-called moral bullshit that we see from the Supreme Court. Most people are very anti-John Roberts, but he's actually more moderate than people realize, especially with his ruling in the ACA case, the Burwell case. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, they're doing everything they can to make it almost impossible to have. I mean, personally, I don't believe in abortion, except in extreme cases. But it's not my decision to make.
Yeah.
It's nobody's decision, except for the mother and the father and those involved.
I'm more lenient about it, but to me, you're right. It's not my fucking business. If there's a woman out there who's like, I don't care. Like, for instance, I have a cousin whose first baby was diagnosed with I forget what it was, but it was a severe congenital defect, and there was no way that child was ever going to live, and she decided to carry it to term. Now, she was raised Catholic, so that probably has something to do with it. Yeah, and I question that, because I think that was cruel to the baby. He lived for 3 weeks and was in just, terrible condition. Part of the reason why they did that was because it was a rare thing and they hoped to learn something about it, which I kind of get, but why did that child have to suffer for it? It's an ethical thing, whatever. But that was her choice, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't make that choice. I don't agree with that choice, but that was her choice. And I'm not going to stand there and say, no, you have to abort it, any more than I'm going to tell the next woman who says, I'm not going to do that to my child, I'm going to have an abortion. Right? Like, it's not my fucking business.
It comes down to a personal decision, and someone tried to, it was last week, someone tried to turn it around and make it, well, what if the father could decide on abortions? Well, first of all, the father does not have a parasite living in his belly. Yeah. And the argument actually came down to parental rights. And I do think the father should be involved in that discussion when it comes, when, if a person chooses to whether to have or not to have a baby. The father should be involved in it. It shouldn't just be, but like you said, it comes down to personal choice. I mean,
well, and to me, like, if when we get to the point that, and we will get there, where we can gestate a fetus outside a womb, then I absolutely agree that father should have the option to assume responsibility for that child. I have no problem with that. The woman can say, I don't want to be a mother. Here, I'm signing away my rights. The fetus is all yours. Have a nice life. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But as long as we require a womb for this to happen, we can't do that. That it has to be up to the woman whose body is being used in order to do that. So I'm all for men, and I'm also all for men to be able to say, I do not want to be a father, and be able to sign off their rights and not be financially responsible. I'm also 100% against that. I don't agree with a man who has said from day one, I don't want to be a father. I'm using every bit of birth control that I have, which, let's be honest, men only have one option, but they're asking the right questions. They're trying their best that they can do to avoid being a father. And if some woman punctures the fucking condom and says, oh, sorry, here's a baby, you got to pay me now. No, that's not right. I disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, there are women that would be vindictive, for lack of a better word, that will do something to cause.
They do. They absolutely do.
I mean, I do know men that have taken on the sole responsibility of raising a child because the mother is not in the picture.
And more power to them.
Yeah, and I give them a lot of kudos. I know a lot of single men who are raising their children.
Absolutely.
But
it just, to me,
that's being used as a weapon. There's a difference.
It is, and it's not right. Now, if the man is like, oh, we lost Miss Ashley there. Hopefully she'll be back shortly. She said be right back. I'm assuming somebody from work called. So there better not be any more fucking truck rollovers, you people in Georgia. Just, yeah. But, it's not right if a man is saying, look, I don't want to be a father, and he takes whatever precautions that he can take. And if there's some screw up, that he's just automatically on the hook for the rest of his life. That's not fair. Now, financially, at least. Now, yes, there's a child out there that's his child, and at some point they may be able to get a relationship, but that's not the point. The point is that if that man doesn't want to be a father and be financially responsible, and he's taken responsibility and tried to prevent that, then he should not be forced to do that. Now, if the guy's like, oh, I'm just gonna, fuck whatever bitches come along, and, oh, well, if I have, 20 kids by, 16 different women, oh, well, that's a whole other story.
I know people like that, and it came with the new laws that have come into effect, specifically since 1996. They have 9 children by 6 different women.
Yeah.
Not married to any of them, and
exactly.
Now, granted, I do agree with him. His child support is a little outrageous. That's his problem. He's the one that didn't keep it in his pants. But I also have a friend who has 3 children by 3 different women, not married to any of them. His child support, even though, is so astronomical, he has to work 2 jobs. And basically, his one whole paycheck from one job is gone. So he's living off of like $300 a month. But while the mother doesn't do anything, so there's other issues in it. It's just so, it's very skewed, but one of the things, it's just so skewed.
And the thing is, it's not a black and white thing. It's just
Yeah,
not. Like,
no, it's not.
and the way even in Canada, the law tends to treat it like you're a man, she got pregnant, you're paying, end of story. And I don't think it's anywhere near that cut and dried. I think it needs to be examined case by case and be like, what was the circumstance? How did this happen? What precautions did you take? You know, did you make it clear that you didn't want children and whatnot on both sides? Right. And just be like, well, here's a kid, you have a dick, you're paying.
Yeah, and I know from from friends I have here that there is two sides of the story. I know women who have been vindictive, who have used getting pregnant as a weapon.
Yep.
I know women who oopsed and because of their religious beliefs, which is fine, they don't believe in abortion and decided to keep the child, but the father didn't want to. It really did financially could not handle
Yeah.
and signed off his parental rights. And the sad thing here in PA, there's a situation I'm aware of where the non-father wants to adopt the child, but in order to adopt the child, this person has to get married, and they're too young to get married. They're just starting. It's a really, like you said, it has to be looked at individually, and I think the courts are slowly swinging that it's not just you have a dick, you pay. I think the courts are slowly starting to look that there can be vindictiveness out there.
Because I've even heard stories of men who and now I've never heard of it happening here, but I've heard of it happening in the US where a woman puts the man down on the birth certificate as the father. There's no proof that that man's actually the father, but they get suckered into paying child support or forced to pay it by the courts. And later they find out that they are not actually the father of that child. And the court says, well, too bad, you're on the birth certificate. I mean, they have DNA evidence that says that's not my child. And because they were put on the birth certificate, the courts are like, oh, too bad, so sad, give us your money. And that's not right.
Well, and the sad thing is, like, I was adopted back in the 1960s, and back then having a child out of wedlock was not kosher.
No.
And I personally could care either way, whether I was here or whether I was aborted. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I give my mother kudos. She did what was accepted back then. I mean, granted, according to stories, she was kind of slutty. But I look at today, I mean, back in today, where basically, in order to get any type of financial help, you have to have a father on the birth certificate. Now, there are some instances where women can't, and the court system allows for that. But you're basically, as a woman who is having a child who needs financial help to get started, are basically forced to put a father down, whether it's that person or not. I mean, I know some people who have willingly decided that, yes, I will take financial responsibility, and I give kudos to them. But there are some people who know, like you were stating, and there are stories of men who find out 2-3 years later they're really not the father. I mean, and it's gone both ways. I mean, it's kind of anecdotal. I don't know of any court cases off the top of my head, but there are reports of people finding out, years later that they really aren't the father. And what kind of recourse do they have, if any?
Yeah. And they don't. They don't. Yeah. They're just like stuck paying forever, and that's not cool.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's a sticky wicket. I mean, and that's with a lot of social issues, whether it's abortion, whether it's LGBTQ issues, whether it's, just treatment of the poor. There's always two sides, but it always seems the rational side kind of gets pushed to the back when it comes to discussing it. I mean, we're all on different sides. Deb and I happen to agree on 99.9% of them.
Yes. But, absolutely.
Which is a good thing for the show, but I do know. I mean, I do know the atheists that are are against abortion, and they, in my opinion, they don't. Yes. So you get the gamut, and I think it's important we discuss it. Like right now, the big push in 25, I think it's 25 states. In fact, I just read an article today about the whole bathroom bills. For yes. the specifically for the trans community, where they use the bathroom that they identify with instead of what they were.
The thing, somebody asked this, I saw on Facebook, and I don't remember who it was now, and I think it just like popped up in my feed or something, but why do we need segregated bathrooms in the first place? Why?
Well, and that's a good question. If you think about it, I mean, I do know some men's bathroom. I've cleaned enough of them in my day that are not privacy enhanced. They don't have the stalls.
Well, and the
our bathrooms can be, yeah.
Well, the point that I got that I kind of went, yeah, was no house that I've ever heard of has a urinal in the fucking house. So why the fuck is there a urinal standing out in the open in the men's bathroom?
Yeah.
If you really think you need a urinal, make the stall double wide and put a toilet and a fucking urinal in the same stall. And that's all you need to do.
Yeah. Personally, I think it goes to back to the whole Victorian attitude of specifically U.S. views on sexuality, which of course have been influenced by the church. But in a sense, I mean, I'm probably a good example of it. I'm very prudish when it comes to sexuality or expression of. I will turn right on numerous occasions, but it's not that I'm ashamed of it. It's just that that's not something that occurred in my family. So it's a holdover. You go to Europe, they're much more freer with how they
are.
Well, look at the slack that Jada Pinkett Smith takes for their I mean, gender fluid, and gets railed on because they haven't decided. I mean, I know.
Is that Willow? Is that Willow or one of the kids?
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking mom.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jolie's kid. One of her kids is gender fluid.
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus. Who else? I mean, there's a lot of young adults that are so-called gender fluid now. Personally, I'm still struggling with it myself, but when I go into the bathroom, the last thing I expect is someone to inspect my genitals, and that's what it's coming down to.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous.
And most of these arguments are so bullshit, and they know they're bullshit.
There has never been, ever, that I'm aware of, a recorded incident of a person pretending to be a different gender in order to assault someone in a bathroom. It's never happened, ever.
Well, according to this article, you are correct. There has never been any documented court case or case of someone doing that. And that's the thing. It's like I know Theodore Shobot, who's one of the people I like to pick on. He's the son of Waleed Shobot, the so-called ex-terrorist who is now a Christian. He was reacting to a report of a rape by four high school wrestlers on 2 young boys that were also wrestlers, and instead of calling it just a plain old what it was, rape, he was calling it homosexual rape. Well, first of all, these were kids on both aspects, but he was trying to tie in homosexuality with the whole rape thing, and that's what they're doing with the whole bathroom issue. Oh, these people are going to go in and do it. It's like, no. If somebody is truly a transgender, like our friend of the show, Callie, they're not. They could give 2 shits what everybody else is doing. They're
No.
going in there to pee.
They want to pee, and that's the hashtag. I just want to pee. You know, I don't ever go into a public restroom looking at, oh, I hope there aren't any dudes in here. I couldn't give a fuck who is in there, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna rape, it don't matter. You're gonna rape whether it's male or female.
In my clubbing party days, I used to go to fetish clubs and whatnot. I've been in a bathroom with all kinds of people where I don't know what the hell gender they might be or they feel like they are or what they might be presenting as. You know, I don't care. And it just doesn't make a difference to me. If I don't want anyone to see what I'm doing, and normally I don't, you go in the fucking stall. Yeah, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. They're conflating homosexuality. They're conflating transgender as
wasn't it Foda or somebody on my feed not long ago said that the way to solve the problem was make the stalls go all the way to the floor so that they're impenetrable, so that if you're in there, nobody's getting in there without special fucking life-saving fire department tools. And that's it. And make the bathroom open to everyone. Because men piss in toilets. They don't need a fucking urinal because nobody that I've ever heard of has a urinal. Maybe Donald Trump has a golden urinal in his fucking house. I don't know. But nobody in the normal world has a fucking urinal in their house. They don't need one. They can piss in the fucking toilet, close the damn door, and you're good. We don't need gender segregated bathrooms. Just make public restrooms that you can't see what anybody else is doing. Everybody goes in and does their business.
Do you remember, you might, back in the 70s, and I think they carried over into the 80s, where you actually had to pay to use the restroom?
When I was in Romania,
and there was only one restroom, and you had to pay.
When I was in Romania in 2012, they did have gender segregated public restrooms that you had to pay to get in. That was fucking freaky. Yeah, we were at a cafe that was next to built on top of a public restroom, and I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and my friends were like, oh, you're gonna need money. I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, oh, it's a pay toilet. I'm like, what the fuck is a pay toilet? They're like, just take money with you.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't had that. And I remember as a child that most of your stores, like your grocery store, like Walmart, didn't even have bathrooms. Because I remember I know a couple times I had to ask if I could use your restroom. I got sent to the boys' room. Yeah. A lot. I still do, believe it or not. When I have my coat on, I'm like, seriously? I'm a 44D. It's a little hard to miss, and I've been since I was a 12. I don't know how they ever missed it, but I laugh about that now. But it's like, I remember actually having to ask to use their, quote, private bathroom. They did not have, the only places there were public restrooms were in restaurants, and that's required by law.
When I was a little kid, now I don't remember, there were bathrooms in the mall, but you're right, the stores didn't. And what my grandma used to do when we were out shopping in Stratford, Ontario, the city hall downtown had the city hall also doubled as a bus stop, and so you could go in the first floor of the city hall, and there's a public bathroom. So my grandma used to take me, if I said I gotta go and we were downtown shopping, we'd drive over to city hall and I'd use the bathroom in there. But that's all there was.
Yeah, I mean, by law, if I don't even know if this has been changed, but by law, they don't have to. Only restaurants have to provide bathrooms.
Yeah, I don't think most stores do.
Like Walmart, they do. I know a convenience.
When I worked at the antique store, and this was in a place called Shakespeare, so anybody from Ontario might know where that is, and it was all antique stores. We had the store was built onto originally a house, so it was the owners lived there and worked there, but there was a bathroom next to the office of the store. But we learned the hard way. You don't want to. We only let people we knew use it. And the city, because there was a cluster of antique stores and it was kind of a touristy place, they would get porta potties in the little parkette for people in the summer when all the tourists were there. Because we let one elderly lady use the private bathroom in the store once, and I felt bad for her because obviously she had some kind of medical problem, but there was shit everywhere in there. It was horrible. And I mean, this was like a tiny little pedestal sink with a skirt on it and a toilet. Like, that's all there was, this little room. And it was just like unreal. So we made sure. Yeah, we made sure that we didn't let anybody we didn't know in there.
Well, I know businesses even today that they advertise that they do not have a public restroom. And they will not let anybody use it. And these are not restaurants. These are just, general businesses. And they don't have to. I mean, people were up in arms. It's like they don't have to provide restroom facility. I mean, do we have to go back to the whole pay bullshit? I mean, I know as being a manager of a restaurant, cleaning bathrooms is like job non grata. I mean, people don't want to do it. And in my 40 plus years of working, some of the worst restrooms to clean are women's.
Yeah, they are. You know what I don't understand? What I don't understand, and this drives me crazy, when you go into a public women's restroom, why is there like a quarter of an inch of water all over the entire fucking sink? Can anybody tell me why this is? Because when I wash my hands, I don't get water on the counter. Why is there a swamp on the fucking counter every time? Like, I can't. It almost makes me, want to go find some what do you call it, hand sanitizer somewhere else, because I don't want to put my purse down in a fucking swamp on the counter. And I'm short, so when I lean over to get to the soap or whatever, I'm like getting my tits are in the fucking water, and it's like, ladies, why the fuck is there a swamp on the counter? Somebody tell me, please.
I have friends that won't even go in a public restroom for any reason because they do have OCD, because they stuff like that. I mean, they will literally hold it until they get home, or in the case of my ex, and I don't mean to pick on her, we would have to drive all the way home, and for us here where I live, that's 30 minutes. Like, we went to Walmart, and because she had an aversion to public restrooms for whatever reason. I have people in my family who are like that. They will not use the public restroom for any reason.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is germophobia, so to speak. But I mean, I just find it baffling that people have to basically whip out their genitalia to prove that they need to be in a public facility. It's so mind-numbing. And the laws they're making, like you're talking about Mike Pence, I mean, some of the laws they're making, I mean, the stories I've been reading this week are just crazy. It's like, and it's all bad research too.
And how are they gonna? Okay, so let's just say one of these dumbass laws passes, right? So you got to go to the bathroom. What are they gonna do? Like, okay, look at myself. Okay, I'm an abuse survivor. So for me, some fucking stranger who says I gotta look in your pants to make sure you don't have a dick. Like, I'm sorry, I would piss on his fucking shoes at that point.
There is actually a court case. I don't know if it's been completely adjudicated. Currently in front of the courts, where a um, gender non-conforming woman. I don't know if she was trans, so we'll just say that she went to the ladies' room and was literally kicked out because she looks male, and she's
Right.
like, no, I am female. They required, this is one of the areas that have passed the bathroom bill, so she's taking them to court,
I would too.
and I'm not. They're just setting themselves up because, I mean, okay, obviously, and I don't mean to pick on people that are pre-surge. Obviously, they have not had the top and bottom surgery. It's going to be a little quote easier
Yeah.
to tell. But what if
Yeah.
you get somebody who has had the surgery?
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't, whether male to female or female to male.
I just
If
don't
they've
know.
already had this, they're. I just don't. I just find it so baffling.
Well, I don't know
And
how they can. Okay, so you have the right
how
to
can they
what, like
enforce it?
life and liberty, but you have a right to privacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, how can under your own constitution and the rights that you have, and I'm sure we have the same right here. How now nobody would ever dream of coming up with that bullshit here, but down there, like, how could they even legitimately say under the Constitution, I'm sorry, I have a right to look inside your pants or lift up your skirt before you can urinate? That's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
Like I said, yeah, I'd fucking, like I said, I'd piss on his fucking shoes right there. Well, I guess I don't have to use the bathroom now. Fuck you.
Well, I think it comes down to dehumanizing. It's the
Yeah,
whole us versus men mentality, where we have seen it with the LGBT community, we've seen it with abortion, we've seen it with racism. Now it's hitting the transgender community, in a sense that they have become the demon, so to speak.
yeah.
And I just think it's the right way of trying to dehumanize people that are trying to gain the same rights
And you know
that
what makes me laugh
have.
is a lot of these people think of measures like this as a deterrent. As so
Yeah.
if we make it really, really hard to have an abortion, nobody's going to get pregnant out of wedlock. And if we make it really, really hard to pee, nobody's going to dress in a way we don't like. Fucking hell, are you guys idiots?
Well, going back to the abortion thing in Texas, I think they're down to 4 abortion clinics now. They have seen a rise in self-induced. We're back to
Absolutely.
the We're back to the 70s. I
And
remember growing
earlier.
up. I remember growing up. Not. I don't believe anybody I knew, but I vaguely remember stories of women who did their own abortions and died. This is shit that happened 40, 50
Absolutely.
years ago. And we're heading right back to that. Yeah, they want to make
Absolutely.
America great again. What's so fucking great about the 1950s when some chick died in the back alley because she did her own abortion?
Absolutely. And it's again, they seem to think it's going to be some kind of deterrent, and it is not. They don't understand. They don't want to understand the dynamics of any of these situations because it doesn't conform to what we want. So fuck you. And we're gonna, and it's like the even the stupid smoking laws around here. Like they make it so people who smoke can't. If there's a restaurant that has a patio that's outside, it's now illegal here to smoke on a patio that's outside. Like,
Yeah.
give me a fucking break. It has not. When I smoked, none of that shit would ever deter me from smoking. Never.
Yeah. Well, the doctor said to me in the hospital this past weekend, when are you gonna quit? And I'm like, never.
Yeah.
Are you interested? No. It's not because I'm hooked, because I'm down to less than a half a pack a day. And I'm going down from 3 packs a day, so that I have made, an attempt. But it's not because I'm hooked on the nicotine. If they never would have made menthol cigarettes, I never would have smoked, period.
Yeah.
Because I don't like regular cigarettes. You will
Now,
not, very rare will you see me smoke. If I'm smoking a regular cigarette, that means I'm jonesing. That means I probably ran out. But it's right. I guess one of the offshoots, one of the good things of my stroke is that I really don't have an interest in it.
yeah,
So that's kind of helped in cutting back.
yeah,
But telling me that it causes cancer, my grandmother died, I'm going to assume probably from the side effects of smoking. I know the side effects are there. Anybody who picks up a cigarette in today's day and age,
yeah.
based on the science, knows that cigarette smoking, it doesn't necessarily have to be cigarette, causes or triggers cancer.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. It's been proven
Well,
beyond a shadow of a doubt.
but my argument to that when I was smoking was because if anybody from Canada knows, and you know Hamilton, it's a steel
Yes.
town nearby me. My quip to that was I could get lung cancer from a day trip to Hamilton, and there's no way to prove that that's not how I didn't get it if I did. So that was always
Yeah. And I always have used my mom as an example. My mom has never smoked a day in her life. Never. Ever.
yeah,
She had cancer 6 times. The 6th one
exactly,
killed her. All granted, she
exactly.
was 94, but she technically died from stomach cancer.
Yep,
She's had breast cancer, I don't know how many times. When I was 13, she nearly died from ovarian cancer or uterine
yeah,
cancer. I don't remember which one. There's somebody in my life who has had cancer, never smoked. So don't
yeah.
tell me that is the only thing.
Wait,
Yeah,
exactly. Now
I know that.
I quit, but it's funny. I quit without any intention of ever quitting. And I'm like you,
Exactly.
if somebody had said to me, "Oh, are you going to quit smoking?" I'd be like, "Fuck that noise." Like, I mean, when the commercials would come on with the poor little child who's like, "My mommy died of cancer from smoking," I'd be like, "Give me a fucking cigarette. Fuck you."
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and yet I quit without trying, and I'm not saying that could happen for anybody. I'm a weirdo, so who knows. But I went to e-cigarettes only because I moved in with my husband. He does not smoke. It's his house, and I was not going to, I had to go sit in the porch. And one porch at winter of sitting on the porch at 30 below will cure you of wanting to smoke outside, let me tell you. And
Well,
I got e-cigs, and the weird thing is I started to forget to smoke. And the only time I really use these things is when I'm podcasting.
yeah.
Or sometimes when I'm drinking, which I'm having a bit of wine, so.
Yeah. For most people, I'm an ex-drinker. I am an ex-alcoholic. It's the same mentality of why I don't drink. I guess I'm very, snaky, as people say. Uh, I will occasionally have a wine cooler. Wine coolers don't do anything. It's the hard
Yeah.
liquor. I am a hard liquor person. I just don't drink it.
Yeah.
Even when I go out, I can't even stand the smell. I wish that would happen with cigarette smoking. It's expensive. But, for me, cigarettes are the last thing I buy. If I don't have
Yeah.
money, for some reason, let's say I run out of food stamps, I'm not going to buy cigarettes over food. I'm going to buy food first because you
Yeah.
can't live off cigarettes. So for me, it's more of a just because I do like the taste. But as I said, I won't smoke something else. So it's a mentality thing. I just find it funny that we're so quick to put our morals onto somebody else. I don't like to see young kids starting to smoke or
No.
chew. And for people that don't know, I do chew as well, but I go in spurts with that.
I had kids when I used to smoke would stop me on the street like, "Hey, can I bum a smoke?" And I'd be like, "No." Or, "Hey, would you go buy me smokes?" No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
And I've told the kids here in town. I said, do not ask me to buy you. But one, if you are underage, to buy you cigarettes, and two, I'm not going to buy you cigarettes because I really do. I wish I never started. Yes. And, I started smoking when I was 10, so we're going on 41.
Yeah.
It should be 42. I make it that long. But, I'm not actively trying to quit, although I probably should because of recent events. But, if I cut down, so be it. It's
And the
just,
thing is if the desire to do it isn't there, it's probably not going to happen. I'm a total anomaly. I started using e-cigs and I just started to forget to smoke because I wasn't doing my normal ritual of going outside, however many times a day or whatnot. And so it was different for me, but for almost everybody else out there, if you aren't committed to quitting or have the desire to do it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I even tried the e-cig first time because I had lost the desire, so to speak. But I couldn't handle them because of the damage I have to my throat pre-stroke. It's just like there's a couple brands of cigarettes I cannot smoke because they're just too, quote, harsh. I don't know if strong isn't really the right word, but they affect my vocal cords. And, having the trouble I do with I just avoid them. But, and I only smoke one brand. I have only smoked one brand pretty much since the day I started. So I'm picky about what I smoke. I know that sounds weird, but it's just, it's crazy. It's just, and I'm learning different things, and I try. I'm not blowing my doctors off. And I told the doctor that. I said, I have no interest in smoking, quitting, so I don't know how this is going to work.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. He just kind of looked at me funny, but I think he thought I was nuts, but
it's one thing, when I started dealing with diabetes, by that time I had quit for over years. So at least when I went in there, like, do you smoke? I could be like, no, I don't. And then I don't have to get another lecture. But
yeah. Well, I get one every time I go home and visit my dad because my parents know. They didn't find out I smoked till I was like 28. I'd already smoking for 20 years by then. And my dad, he's a little. My mom was, and he's like, "You still smoke?" Yeah. So I've had a second stroke, but I can just imagine the lecture I'm going to get when I go home.
Well, and for those who might be wondering, the one that I'm the e-cig I've been dragging off of here, there's actually no nicotine in it at all. So
I was
going to
say you don't even use cartridges anymore.
No, that you can't use it without it, but they're nicotine-free cartridges, so they're just menthol vapor.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's getting to be about that.
And I wish I could get to
Go ahead.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, I wish I could get to that point, but we'll see.
Someday. But it is getting to be about that time. Miss Ashley sends her regrets. She had to step away. She has a sick child who was... she needed to go deal with that, so she did send her apologies. But for her, I will start off and say that you can find her Sunday nights at 7 p.m. on No Religion Required, and you can find that noreligionrequired.secularmediagroup.com and also on Spreaker. And she's also at Miss_Ashley NRR is her Twitter, and you can find her Twitter if you go to beyondthetrailerpark.com. So, Beth, where do we find you?
Easiest way is doing 9998 on Twitter. Currently, I'm not really blogging. I'm trying. I can't type, so it's kind of hard to blog. So I've been posting some articles this week. I'm slowly trying to get back into the swing, and you can find me on Facebook under Beth A. Hambridge.
Excellent.
And I do post articles.
And of course, I also can be found at Atheist Apocalypse at atheistapocalypse.com. We will be having a new episode coming out, I think, next week. We're almost halfway through season 2, so enjoy that. There's all kinds of weird and wacky things going on in the Tri-Counties. And of course, here, and like I said at the top of the show, we now have beyondthetrailerpark.com. It has all of the places that you can find the show, all of our contact information, and a listing of confirmed upcoming shows. So pop on over to beyondthetrailerpark.com. And just a quick note, Guthrie, I did see your other post. You were asking about the universe being an abstract of a higher mathematical reality. Dude, that's way beyond my pay grade. I will go and have a look at the link. But like I said, I'm really not a science person. But it's an interesting idea, so I totally appreciate your input in the show, and I will go and have a look and see about that. So I apologize I didn't get to that particular post, but that shit's kind of like woo up here over my head. So I will have a look later. But yeah, and don't forget tomorrow, 1:00 p.m. Eastern, we will be sitting down with David Silverman and talking about his book and the Reason Rally and the American Atheists. And I booked my hotel for Reason Rally like yesterday. So anybody who is going to Reason Rally and wants to say hi, please look me up on Facebook. Send me a private message. Anyone can send me a message. I'd be happy to meet up with anybody. Ashley is also going to be there, so please send her a message if you want to meet up, and we'll see what we can do. I'm collecting phone numbers of people that have said, hey, let's meet up, so that I can text people and find you in the throng. So I'm totally looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome. But yes, please come and join us tomorrow at 1:00 p.m. Eastern. If you can't, that's okay. We are going to upload the show on Spreaker as usual, and you'll be able to listen to it there. David's awesome. His book is fantastic, and I think we're going to have a really good chat. Next week on Monday, we are, as Beth said earlier, we're going to talk about the Oregon occupation and Pete Santilli and the Bundy idiots and all of that bizarreness with our friends Robert Beatty and is Dee coming? Yep, Dee Holmes, who have graced us with our talks on Hovend, and I believe Craig Chadwick is coming as well. Yes. Yeah, I can't hear you, but I think you're nodding. I don't know what you did, but I can't hear you. But yeah, so that will be next week on Monday. We're going to talk about all the craziness that went on in Oregon, bags of dicks and drums of lube and all that fun stuff. So until then, we will catch you next week, and we will end the show with our good friend Dave motherfucking Foda and his Human Creed. And we'll see you next week and tomorrow. Come tomorrow. Listen to Dave, the other Dave Silverman. See ya.
I know the truth and power of reason and of rational thinking, and I will use them to my advantage. I know the truth and power of educating myself and of expanding my intellectual boundaries, and I will educate myself. I know the truth and power of vanquishing ignorance, and I will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know the truth and power of morality without supervision, and of true and accurate righteousness. I know the truth and power of obliterating tyranny, be it intellectual, emotional, or philosophical, and will work toward that goal whenever and however possible. I know the truth and power of human ingenuity. I know the truth and power of human compassion, and I will be mindful of the welfare of others. I know the truth and power of equality and fairness for all living things. I know the truth and power of the importance of our families, our friends, and our fellow men and women. I know the truth and power of human stewardship of our lands, our waters, and our skies, and I will try to act to preserve our environment. I know the truth and power of the sciences of mathematics, of physics, and of chemistry, and of the important role of these disciplines in understanding the workings of this cosmos. I know the truth and power of the rejection of all notions or beliefs that reside in the supernatural or the superstitious, and of those notions or beliefs that we are not supposed to be able to explain. And I know that these rejections are necessary for humankind's survival. I am a human being with a free mind, liberated from irrational influence and from unreasonable dogma.